I contacted 60 Minutes in 1986 while being locked out of my latest job that most people would kill to get. When I phoned associate producer Chuck Lewis as he requested, he sought additional info on the dregs of the trucking industry, and he sought confirmation that government deregulation was the main cause of the deterioration. I told him that deregulation was not the main problem, that it was companies that would take any action possible that would raise their profit margins. Providing good-paying jobs with benefits to have a workforce dedicated to the success of the company was no longer considered necessary and even foolhardy. Unfortunately, 60 Minutes decided to concentrate on the dregs of the industry, choose to ignore the accidental death of a faithful employee trying to cover a dispatcher's mistake, and fail to show the world just how corporate America functions. Here are the facts that 60 Minutes tossed aside. Shown are 2 loading tickets by the outside carrier that supplemented company drivers daily. Note that both tickets show the same carrier and trailer number 101, the same load time and date in the upper right, and the same driver's signature at the bottom. The first ticket loaded was for 7,500 gallons of diesel, which is legal laden weight to produce to any cop who might stop the vehicle en route. Then, as indicated by the meter transaction code, 4,501 additional gallons were loaded on the same rig for a total of 11,501 gallons. Shown next is the bill of lading that puts every item together. Company trucks would have to make 3 trips to deliver the same gallonage that this outside carrier would deliver in 2 trips. In late 1978, the company ceased operating their own trucks and subcontracted the work to a different common carrier. The first oil shortage was created in 1973-74, followed by the second in 1978-79. It was a power play by the U.S. government versus Big Oil to prove who was the boss. The Arab oil embargo, threats of divestiture, odd and even day gas rationing by license plate numbers were all part of the game. While consumers searched for fuel, gasoline was moved around in circles and reverse flowed. Since there was no serial number on a gallon of gas, no one could trace what was being done. Trucks ran full loads of gas from an inland terminal in Suffolk County to a waterfront terminal in Nassau County. After unloading, they loaded up with the same gas at the Nassau terminal and took the gas back to the inland terminal in Suffolk. 2 such daily trips were made for a week, running loaded both ways, and at the end of a 200-mile day, all the gas was back where it started. Later, the travel mileage was eliminated. Trucks spent the day at the inland terminal loading a full load, exiting, then re-entering, and pumped the gas right back into the tank that it was loaded from. This scenario went on all day at the same place for several days. The media reported cars were stalling due to contaminated fuel, but the investigative reporters never figured out how or where the bad gas came from. Fuels that are received via pipeline require making timed cuts. Each fuel, such as diesel, regular gas, jet fuel, home heating oil, kerosene, etc., pushes the fuel along ahead of it in the pipeline. The time cuts are such that the section of pipe where each fuel may have contaminated the other goes into a slop tank. This mixture of fuels is known as interface on the East Coast and transmix on the West Coast. Examine the Paulsboro ticket dated 8/13/79 for 9,000 gallons of interface. The ticket shows that it was consigned to an outfit in Newark, New Jersey, but we were told to take it to Mattituck, Long Island. In Mattituck, interface was pumped into one storage tank while good regular gas was brought in and pumped into a second storage tank. The plan to mix the 2 tanks together was cut short when the Coast Guard shut down the operation because they did not have the proper permits to operate. Banned from bringing in any more fuel, the operator faced a dilemma. They had all this interface and not enough good regular gas to mix it with. The crown ticket shown was loaded in Mattituck. The first 5 compartments were loaded with interface. Then the valves to the loading rack were switched to the good regular gas to load the last compartment, number 6. The terminal that we were being sent to always took a sample before we were allowed to pump. The ladder on a semi-tanker trailer goes up the back end, so a sample would always be taken from the first compartment that you came to, number 6. After all, the gas was loaded at the same place and on the same meter ticket. This fuel was dumped on an unsuspecting terminal who had no idea what hit him. 60 Minutes failed to report these facts even though they were presented to them. Perhaps they skim when reading and miss a lot like my sister? On the West Coast, Powerine was the largest independent refinery. During the 78-79 created fuel shortage, many new players entered the oil supply game. Each newcomer to the game would add their charge to the fuel's price per gallon. Take a look at the next loading ticket, Tropicana Petroleum Limited, located in an office suite in Pasadena, California. And the origin for this load was Western Fuels, selling to Powerine Refinery. None of these 3 companies exist anymore according to the internet. Who were these players? I rarely handled gas station deliveries. I handled crude oil to the refinery. One day, however, I had to take premium, regular, and no-lead gas to a station in the upper desert on Pear Blossom Highway. The gal in the office saw me hooking up and told me to put the regular into the premium. I told her that I don't do that and went back to hooking up. She called me back to the office to speak to the station manager, who told me to put the regular into the premium. I told him I don't do that. Either the 2,000 gallons of regular goes into the regular tank or I will take it back to the refinery, and hung up. I quickly dumped the regular first, and as I finished dumping the last of my load, the station owner was on the phone asking what was wrong with me. Another truck was at his other station and he was putting the regular into the premium. I told him that it was a moot point, the gas was in the ground, and I didn't have a straw. When I returned to the refinery, I told dispatch what happened. They said, "Yeah, we forgot to tell you, you were to put the regular into the premium. He's outside LA County and can blend his own." I blew up and said, quote, "This is just great. You give me a polygraph test to get hired, and now you expect me to do your thievery for you?" End quote. Look at the next little stub under the Powerine Refinery brochure. The loading tickets for this station delivery on 6/27/81 were printed for a Powerine station operated by Elliott Enterprises Incorporated at 12504 Van Owen Boulevard in North Hollywood. That yellow sticker that you see on the bottom of that tag was on top of the loading tickets, instructing me to take the load to 16455 Victory Boulevard in Van Nuys. At 3 a.m. in the dark, I had a Powerine truck delivering to a Shell station. I had hoped that 60 Minutes would show the American worker that all good-paying jobs can be in jeopardy as corporate executives devise ways to cut costs, even if it means dumping the dedicated, conscientious, hard workers who strove daily to work in the best interests of their company. The term fake news is only 4 years old, but I learned in 1986-87 that if the media wants you to blame deregulation and you don't agree with them, they will take the info that you provided and go on their own way. "60 Minutes never advised me when their story on the trucking industry was to air, and I had never seen it. Jackie Presser, then president of the Teamsters, rebuked 60 Minutes for the shabby image of the trucking industry that 60 Minutes had broadcast. I sent Jackie Presser both of these 60 Minutes correspondences shown here and said, "Hey, Yo-Yo, The 60-minute story was prompted by one of your Teamster members in the hope of putting a stop to the corporate habit of eliminating good jobs and good workers to cut costs and increase profits. Unfortunately, 60 Minutes showed the American worker that he is disposable at the whim of the employer, and unions are powerless to stop this trend. A quick internet search revealed that no major oil company in the New York, Long Island metropolitan area has an active DOT motor carrier number. I assume that all company trucking has ceased and is handled by the common carrier. The only active common carrier name that still exists from the 70s is Island Transportation. They list 149 trucks, 152 tractors, 15 trailers, and 286 drivers. The trucks must be 3,000-gallon straight trucks that are needed for the 5 boroughs of Manhattan. The high number of tractors and drivers compared to the low number of trailers indicates that there are other players that control the tanker trailers themselves. The fake news can investigate if they choose. I'm too old to care. Back in the mid-70s, Gulf Oil had design experts review their fleet to reduce costs. Everything that wasn't necessary was removed, and they switched from steel rims to aluminum. As a result, Gulf trucks could legally carry 200 gallons more than their competitors on each and every load. Kudos to Gulf Oil for lowering costs without eliminating employees. In conclusion, look at the photos from trucking in Western Europe on the left and Greece on the right. Note the steel barriers to keep autos from going under the trailer. The flat flange on the steering axle to push away bicyclists rather than tearing their legs apart. And the vehicle configuration posted on the rear to advise motorists the length of the vehicle that they are thinking about passing. On the Greek trailer, note the low, full-length bumper to attempt to keep other vehicles from going under the trailer. The passing side, no passing side, and maximum vehicle speed in kilometers are also posted on the rear. I doubt you will ever see the barriers to keep vehicles from going under the trailer here in the United States. They add to the weight of the unladen vehicle, thereby reducing the weight of the product that can be transported in the vehicle. Profit comes first. Safety is second.